Think about this for a second. Truly stop what you are doing and let the weight of it sink in. There are children who, at the age of 7 or 10, already understood things most adults spend decades trying to figure out. They realized very early on that life isn't always fair, balanced, or kind to those who are small. They understood that the very people who are supposed to protect you sometimes simply can't do it. So you learned how to hold yourself together, even when no one noticed you were silently falling apart. You didn't choose to grow up fast. You were shaped that way by a world that didn't give you a choice. You were forged by heavy responsibility and an environment that needed you to be older than you were. Growing up too fast takes your childhood, but it also builds something uniquely powerful and resilient within you. The first sign is that you can read a room before anyone even says a single word to you. You pick up on a slight shift in posture or a micro-expression that most people completely miss. Your brain was trained from an early age to scan your environment for vital emotional data just to feel safe. Sign 2 is that you were always the responsible one, regardless of how much you were struggling. You learned very quickly that if you didn't handle the situation, it simply wasn't going to get done. You became reliable in a way that is almost unnatural and incredibly heavy for someone so young. You mastered the art of total independence long before you ever learned that it was okay to ask for help. The third sign is that you processed your deepest emotions alone because there was simply no other option available. You built complex internal mechanisms for handling profound depth without any outside emotional support. What once served to protect you as a child can now quietly keep other people at a safe distance. Sign 4 is that you felt significantly older than your peers for the majority of your childhood years. You watched them play and laugh, feeling like you were observing them from a completely different world. Now, people instinctively turn to you for strength whenever their own lives become difficult or chaotic. Sign 5 is being simultaneously the strongest and the most exhausted person in the entire room. People look to you for answers because they know you always find a way to handle things quietly. Yet there is a fatigue inside you that goes much deeper than any amount of sleep can ever fix. It is a profound exhaustion that comes from having started your life's race way too early and without rest. Your nervous system never got the luxury of a slow start or the freedom of a carefree beginning. The strength you show is very real, but the exhaustion you carry is also a fundamental truth of your life. Sign 6 is being deeply empathetic, often to a point where it becomes an overwhelming burden to carry. You feel what others are experiencing long before they have even finished speaking their truth to you. Your brain became extraordinarily calibrated to the internal worlds and the hidden struggles of other people. The people in your life will tell you they have never felt more understood by anyone else than by you. You absorb the energy of those around you and take on their weight without a single word of complaint. Sometimes you even lose track of where their heavy emotions end and your own truly begin. Sign 7 is having a deeply complicated and often painful relationship with the very concept of childhood. When people talk about being carefree as kids, something deep inside of you fails to connect to that. For you, there was always a weight to carry. There were always heavy things that required your attention. There was a version of you that was working very hard and very quietly while everyone else was playing. Healing and wisdom. There is a quiet, lingering grief for the childhood you didn't fully get to experience or enjoy. This isn't an act of self-pity. It is a necessary and honest acknowledgement of the reality you lived. That grief, once it is finally felt and accepted, becomes the actual doorway to your personal healing. Sign 8 is being extraordinarily good at holding everything together while under extreme and sudden pressure. Crisis mode is strangely the environment where you feel most competent, clear-headed, and alive. When everything is falling apart around you, something deep inside your soul goes perfectly and eerily still. You assess the situation and act with precision while others are still paralyzed by their own reactions. What others see as overwhelming chaos, your system recognizes as very familiar and manageable territory. Your nervous system was calibrated to manage chaos and unpredictability since the day you were born. You become your most capable and heroic self precisely when things are at their absolute hardest. Sign 9 is finding it difficult to receive love, care, or help without feeling a sense of deep discomfort. You can give support to others endlessly, but you struggle to let anyone do the same for you in return. If you learned early that needing people led to disappointment, you instinctively stopped trying to reach out. Your brain concluded that total self-sufficiency was the only safe strategy for your survival. This strategy was useful back then, but it can quietly starve your adult relationships of intimacy today. You were built for deep connection, but a part of you is still waiting to see if it is finally safe to let go. It is safe now. You can move slowly, and your healing will always be entirely on your own terms. Sign 10 is a quiet, unshakable understanding of what actually matters in the grand scheme of this life. You see through the noise and the lies. You are never easily impressed by shallow or superficial surfaces. You know that status, performance, and busyness are not the same thing as a life well lived. You possess the rare ability to see the difference between what truly matters and what simply doesn't. People who grew up too fast often arrive at a form of wisdom most people never reach in a lifetime, not because the difficulty was worth the pain, but because you survived it all and kept going. Through that intense struggle, something real, strong, and purposeful was forged deep inside of you. You grew up too fast, and that cost you things you truly deserved to have as a child. But that experience also made you into someone with a quiet, radiant, and undeniable presence. It made you someone who sees the world with absolute piercing and honest clarity. It made you someone who feels deeply and carries that weight with an incredible amount of grace. It made you someone who, when it matters most, knows exactly what needs to be done without hesitation. Understanding how you were shaped is the first step toward choosing who you want to become next. The intelligence you built belongs only to you. What you do with it from here is entirely your choice.